Now then, crew, welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel, and this is the next episode in the Triumph Bonneville T140 inspection stroke repair. Watch the previous videos for all the background. There's lots and lots of information previously, but we've got to the point now where we need to inspect the components that make up the primary drive. That's the drive that goes from the crankshaft to the clutch, and on the T140 it's done by a chain. It's a chain drive, very archaic to be honest. So we've got a few things to check. We need to check, and I have no idea on the history of this particular bike, but given its age, you can be rest assured that somebody, one of the owners in the past, didn't really look after it. Maybe more than one. It might look very shiny and nice and painted and things, but there's been an awful lot of, what would you call it? Skeletons in the closet with this particular bike. And again, those have come quite apparent during the inspections on the previous videos. But we need to check to see how worn this chain is. So we'll go through in the original Triumph service manual the technique, the process of doing that. We also need to cover things like wear on the primary drive, on the clutch sprocket. And if you remember before, inside here there's some rubber dampers, and we couldn't get the screw heads off in situ when it was on the bike. They are completely rounded off, so I may have to drill those out so we can get access to see how bad those rubbers are. They're probably pretty bad, but we need to inspect them. You may also remember that the clutch plates, when we removed them from the basket, they were really stuck together. So we're going to do an inspection on the clutch plates. My gut feeling is it's going to get a new clutch anyway, but let's find out just how bad these are. There's a few other bits and pieces we've got to check as well, and we'll go through the manual to do that. It could be another long video. I hope not. Okay, crew, here we go. Used.
You don't paint something without warping.
Honestly. That's it. Got rid of the flicker. Okay, so in section C10, it says regarding the primary drive chain, inspect the primary drive chain for excessive wear of the rollers and pivot pins, and also check that the elongation, that's the total length of the chain, does not exceed 1.5%. To do this, first scribe two marks on a flat surface exactly 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters apart, and then after degreasing and washing the chain in kerosene, place the chain opposite the two marks. When the chain is compressed to its minimum free length, the marks should coincide with the centers of the two pivot pins 32 links apart. Very important, 32 links apart. When the chain is stretched to its maximum free length, the extension should not exceed a quarter of an inch or 6.25 millimeters, and that gives you an indication how worn the chain is. So I need to get that set up on the bench, and then you can join me for that. Back in a second. Now, I've used brake cleaner for this rather than kerosene because I haven't got any kerosene to hand. But brake cleaner is really good for this kind of stuff. Just getting rid of all the old oil and bits. You can actually feel it with the chain, how it gets a lot more clunky and rattly when there's no oil on it. And that Forge brake cleaner I use is really good because it's got an excellent blast to it. It's under quite high pressure in the cans. It sort of blasts it all out of the joints. Right, we'll give it one last blast down. very careful in your workshop. Brake cleaner is extremely flammable. The last thing we want to do is this lot of brake cleaners to catch fire. So I'll dispose of it somewhere very safe. Probably clean the bench with it later on, actually. Be quite good. Okay, let's leave that to dry for a little bit, and then we can measure it up. Wow, it's pretty. There's a few rusty links on here. Wasn't expecting that, to be honest. There's a little split link. Now we've got to make sure we're putting the chain back in. If we're going to reuse this, make sure we put it in the right direction. Don't want the split link going the wrong way around. That could be catastrophic. Right. Sounds pretty good. Let's go get it measured up. Oakley dokley. Right, first thing to do I think is to mark 32 links apart. So let's start with that one there, look. We'll just mark him with some yellow. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. That looks good to me. I'll just put a little line on the top as well, just so we've got some reference if we can't see the dots. Okay, now I've marked on the bench and scored it for me for accuracy 30.5 centimeters, so 305 millimeters apart between these two lines. And we stick him down there, line that up with the center of that pin, and now let me give you a bit of a close-up. I need to do this super accurately for the camera, obviously. I'm just going to sit the chain on the edge of the steel plate on the bench, and then we're going to line that dot up. Now, it may not look entirely aligned on camera, that's sometimes the angles, but looking from directly above, that dot is aligned with the score mark here, down the center of the pin. Okay, right, let's go and take a look at the other end and see how that sits against the score line. Okay, now I've not pushed the chain together at all to get the minimum length yet, but you can see here, this is the score line on the bench, and the center line of the pin is quite a bit shorter. I would say from the top about 2 millimeters shorter than the length where the line is. So I'm now just going to manipulate the chain, holding the end that we've fixed, the start point. I'm just going to make sure that the chain is fully compressed on all the links, obviously without causing a buckle in the chain. Right, that's about as compressed as it's going to go. Oh my word, look at this. Now that gap has now grown. I don't know if a ruler is going to help us at this, but we'll give it a go. Bring the old ruler into the shot. So if I put the scriber, a little trick for engineers. In fact, let me just bend the ruler a little bit. It's slightly bent the wrong way. There we go. That should work better. So I'm going to put the scriber on the line, and that will allow us to just get the ruler in exactly the right place, he says. Right, so there we go. And we need to bring the ruler down a bit, so as close as we can for accuracy. There we go. Now, I'm looking from the top, and there is the line, and I would say about 2.5 millimeters, I think. I'm going to take a photo from directly above, if I can get in there, without moving the other camera. Bear with me, bear with me. Okay. Right, 1, 2. 2 millimeters, I would say that is. So we've got, these are in 1/2 mil, so that's 1, 2. Yes, that would tally. So 2 millimeters under the length that it should be. And obviously, remember that as these pins wear, the chain, it's possible to compress the chain to a shorter length than spec. And obviously, when we pull the chain and try and stretch it, because of the wear, it will overstretch as well. And that's the spec that we've got in the manual, is 6.5 millimeters is the maximum. Now, it's only gone 2 millimeters below, so it would sort of stand to reason that it should only go 2 millimeters above, in which case it would be in spec, but we need to check it. Okay, so again, I'm just going to hold the end of the chain that we used as the start point, and I'm going to pull that as tight as I can. Man, that actually is about on the line, surprisingly enough. So I think this chain is actually in spec, which is incredible. So somebody must have changed it over the years. Okay, let's move the ruler out of the way, and you can see here we've got the center line of the pin is absolutely bang on with that line. So the primary drive chain is good, although we should do an inspection of the links and stuff as well, shouldn't we? Right, let's do that next. Okay, we're going to quickly whiz round and check. We're looking for broken rollers and damaged links as well. So you can see obviously there's a bit of movement side to side. I don't think that's an issue. They didn't mention that in the manual. They're all the same. So any broken rollers that you spot, let me know. They look pretty good. So we're just going to bring the chain across. Obviously we've got to check all of it to the other side as well. And I'm actually going to look on the camera rather than in live, because it's actually slightly larger on the camera, which is great. So any kind of damage to the chain, because all that would render it requiring replacement. So I'll finish checking this chain off. Just flick it over for you. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on this side. Can you see anything? And there's no, I've not noticed any stuck links. Sometimes you get like a seized link and it sticks up like that and you can't push it down flat. That's not the case with this one. It actually feels pretty good. Okay, and once we've checked all of that, then we'll flick it on its side. What's that? A bit of the cloth. Yep, we can discount that. Okay, cool. Right, let's just bring it onto its side. Now I need to reset the focus. There we go. Okay, so a quick scan of all the rivets and stuff on the sides. There is a bit of wear. You can see here, look, where the chain's been wearing, but it's not on every link. That's a bit weird. Why would that be the case? Split link looks pretty good. It's in position. Okay, we'll flick it over. And one little check down this side. This is the other side of the chain now. Wait, come back. And I'm also looking across the chain here to see if, where are we? There we are, look. To see if there's any links that sort of standing upwards or dipping down, where it might indicate a semi-seized link, because they're always bad, make a bit of noise. Okay, so there you go. the chain. Well, by the book, I'm very happy with that, and I'm sure Alan will be too. There is another sort of quick and dirty way to check to see if a chain is still in reasonably good condition as regards wear. Not so much damage, but wear. And that's to grab the sprocket that it goes on, wrap it around the sprocket, and see if you can lift the chain away from the sprocket. In the same way that you would do on a final drive on a motorcycle, you can lift the chain away from the sprocket. You know, whilst it's on the bike, just pull it away from the sprocket a bit and just see how much of an air gap you can get between the chain and the valley of the sprocket teeth. So I'll grab the clutch or the basket, and we'll do the same thing. We're going to wrap it around the basket, around these teeth, and we'll see if we can get any kind of lift. And that will also give us an indication how worn these teeth are as well. If it's nice and tight, we know the chain's good and the sprocket's good. If it does lift, it could be one or the other. Now, I've very lightly mounted the basket in my aluminium faced vise, the jaws, so no damage there. I've put the chain around and a cable tie on there just to hold it in position. And now all we need to do is just grab hold of the chain and just try and lift it away from the sprocket. And there is a little tiny bit of lift. You can see here, if I pull the chain back, you can see a small amount of lift. Can't really get in with pliers, so you have to just put it with the fingers, unfortunately. But maybe from here, like there, you see, look. But I don't think that's is excessive, and I think that's going to be okay. Excellent. I believe that chain is a pass. Now, with the chain off, we can spin the basket, the clutch basket, on the bearing that sits inside here. And if we look around, what I'm looking for is the condition of all the teeth, because again, that's going to be bad if one of them's chipped or missing or broken or bent, or, you know, we know that they're not excessively worn. What's that? Oh, it's a bit of a sealant, look. Nice, good job. And I'm looking at the width across the teeth here, because when if that was sharp, that would be an indication, or it came to a point, then clearly they're going to be worn out. So it's important to also do a visual inspection just to make sure that everything looks as it should do. And that one doesn't. No, not at all. Right, it's time for a close-up. I'm going to mark it with my yellow pen. Having some real problems getting this focused for you, but you can see here we've got a normal tooth with no damage whatsoever to the peak of the tooth. But if you look over here, we've got some damage. Something has gone through this chain and caused that peak to get damaged. That tooth, that would make quite a clicking noise as the bike goes down the road. Not ideal, and realistically this bike should have a new clutch basket. That's not good, but we'll carry on. So we've got one there, it's marked with the yellow line. Let's keep going and see if we can spot any more damage. Yeah, that one's, not that it's damaged, maybe it's just misformed. That one there, the end of the tooth, it sort of flares out. That's weird. I wonder if it just it drops down. So the part of that tooth, this top corner here, is missing. Whether it's broken off or it's just been badly made, I don't know. So we'll put a little line on there. Be good one for the microscope camera again. Well, I don't want it, this one. Okay, we'll keep going. Yes, that's also a damaged tooth. Bear with me, people. Little line on there. Okay, let's keep going. So, they all seem to be on this side, don't they? ones. Yeah, that one's damaged. Dear oh dear. Which one was it? That one? Yes. That one there, look. Okay, another little line. Okay, right, we've found basically, that's back to the first one, which is horrific. We've found 3 damaged teeth. And that is bird. Hang on, we're off camera. That is bird on this side. Not so much that side. Okay. Right, so let me reposition the camera. We'll do the next test. Now, our plan was to film this from overhead, but I just can't get the shot. So, what I want to check now is the play in that bearing. You can see that the outer basket spins on the center here. There's obviously a bearing in there. You can hear it. And I want to check how worn that bearing is. So I'm just going to grab hold of the basket and move it from side to side. Now, to me, that feels quite a lot. I can actually see gaps developing down here on this this thrust washer that's in there. So I think there's more required on the investigation there as well. That's not good, is it? Because that's going to mean that the chain's going to go out of alignment. It's going to start to catch the edges of the teeth under load and stuff. You know, when it's under load, it's going to pull that sprocket round to one side, and the teeth won't be in alignment with the chain. That's quite bad. But the bearing itself doesn't sound too bad. There just seems to be a lot of wear on it. And chances are it's probably never been changed. Well, the saga continues, doesn't it? The list of parts required just keeps getting longer. Although at the moment, the primary drive chain does seem to be a pass. We do still need to check the sprocket off the crankshaft for wear, so we can wrap the chain around that a bit later on and see how much lift we get on that one. And of course, we'll be inspecting the teeth. Might be a bit more difficult to rotate the crankshaft because spark plugs are in, that kind of stuff, but we'll maybe try and move the camera around to get a view. We'll see how hard it is to rotate. What's still to do on the clutch basket? Well, I'm not happy with this clutch basket already. We seem to have some additional bearing play, and we've got some damaged teeth. The teeth can't be repaired. You'd need to buy a new basket. But we're doing a diagnosis. We're trying to work out everything that was wrong with this bike at the time that it failed, the evidence, and then try and piece all that together to work out why that second gear, the teeth got broken off. Seems a bit odd, doesn't it? So next job, I think I'd like to have a little look inside that cush drive system that's here, those rubbers. And to do that, I've got to drill out these 3 bolts. I just cannot get them undone at all. So we'll obviously order some new screws as well, or bolts, whatever they are. But I'll get that plate taken off, or I'll get them drilled out, and then we'll take the plate off, and we'll have a look and see what kind of carnage we find inside. Right, you guys whiz off for a cup of tea. Here is a message from Tall Girl Holly.
Now then, crew, Tall Girl Holly here. Don't miss the next live stream, 8:30 AM Sunday.
Thanks, Holly. Cheers for that. Okay, before I drill those bolts out, the screws, whatever they are, I'm going to use the impact driver one more time. We tried this on the bike, just to no avail, but now we can mount the clutch basket in the vise. We might get a bit more purchase. It's worth a try. Here we go. Now, the only downside of doing this with you on the bench is you're going to experience a bit of an earthquake. My apologies. I couldn't really come up with any other way of doing it, to be honest. Right, here we go. Wow, I don't see any movement whatsoever. No, I don't like that. I don't want to start damaging stuff. So we will drill them out. Okay. Normally I would try and grind the head flat to make it a lot easier to get the drill started. I suppose the Dremel could do that. I can't really get in with a grinder because of these bolts that are captivated in there. Not too sure how well this will work, but we'll give it a go. Okay, we're back. See how we get on. Way! What happened there? Here we go. That one. Hang on a minute, things have moved. Maybe we can get that plate out now, and hopefully I've not damaged too many of the threads. Jeez. Okay. Scriber. Now, those that have worked on these before will go, Andy, that's not how you do it. I've never worked on one before. I just know that the screws were stuck and we couldn't get this top plate out to expose, oh my word, to expose the rubbers, the cush drives. So I'm just doing whatever I think is sort of normal practice. But it's not looking good. There's no way. Nice. There's no way in at the back, so we have to go in from the front. And I don't know. There appears to be, this top plate seems to be about 5 mils thick. It may be, if this is what's got some threads in it, which it shouldn't have if it's been screwed down to the main boss. These should just be holes. Maybe I just need to go a bit deeper. There's nothing to get hold of to pry it back up. It has had some impact damage around here as well, so I don't know what's going on there, whether somebody's hammered it back down or what, I don't know. It's probably quite a tight fit on this shoulder, which is going to make it even harder to get out. Don't know. I think maybe the next size up drill bit might help, or at least a bit deeper on that one. Right, back to the drill press.
Oh, you're fucked.
Whoa! Jesus Christ. Did not like that. Right, that has actually wound that screw further in, so maybe I can get an extractor tool on that one and get that out. That was impressive. Probably bent the drill bit. It's still straight. How cool is that? Okay. Let's see what I've got. None of my extractors are small enough, but it did seem to turn pretty easily with the drill bit. So I'm just going to stick a screwdriver in there and see if I can get it to just wind out. It's a bit of a... It's definitely moving. Definitely got movement on there. It's come up a couple of mil. Not going to do the screwdriver any good, but is it going to be enough? No, it's not. It's jammed. I can screw it down. Maybe that's going to screw it out of the plate. And it's only going so far. Bugger. That one's turning. Wow. We've got movement now, at least on two of them. What do we do? Do we drill some more? We have to do something because we've got to get in there. And there's nothing to get underneath. Nothing at all. It's actually an absolute pain in the ass, is this? Quite bad design, I think, from a maintenance perspective. So there does appear to be threads in this top cover, so I can't really go any bigger in diameter. And besides, we may have already munched them. We may have to get a new top cover, I think, unfortunately, or make one, or go a different size on the threads. Make it metric. It's not an easy call, is it? What would you do in this situation? We have got movement. This is the really annoying thing, is things are turning. It's gone down a couple of turns now. Is that plate lifting up? I'll stab myself, but I think it might be. Yes, I can see movement on the plate. It's giving a little bit. Just trying to get it in where the plate joins below. I think it might be getting there. Get a different pick. One that's less likely to stab my eyeball, to be fair. Definitely movement. Do we drill any more? This is the question. Oh yeah, that's definitely got it. Oh. Holy moly. We've got a bit of movement here, less movement here, and no movement here. I need to drill that one slightly more. Back in a minute. Okay, something gave when I was drilling it. I could feel it just sort of suddenly give me some more movement. So I'm hoping we might be able to get under it now. Hey. Hey, success! So we've just got to work our way around now. Wow, we're in. Holy moly. Okay, so this actually is only screwed down, despite it seeming to have threads. You can see on that one there appears to be threads in there, but that might be the remainder of the bolt. If it is, they will push out. odd. I need to look at a diagram. I'll try and find a diagram that's going to give me more information. But the good news is these rubbers appear to be pretty good. Very tight. There's not a lot of give on them. But we will take them out and inspect them as per the manual. Because I was thinking that maybe if these were shot, when you put it into gear, it's going to put a tremendous clunk through the gearbox, a sudden surge of drive, and not absorb the shock, you know, when you're riding as well, which can put a lot more stress on the teeth. That's why when you put a motor or convert a motocross bike to a super motard, don't bother fitting a cush drive system. That's because it'll cause lots more stress on your gearbox, and it will probably fail. It almost seems to be captivated, as is that one. What's going on here? Why would they do that? Can we knock that middle bush out? Do we need to get these out first? These rubbers, will that help? Two screwdrivers. They're always better than one, aren't they? There we go. Okay. That's one. See if I can find another small screwdriver. There we go. Come on, mister. There we go. So that one is that one there. We're getting the hang of this now. Do seem pretty tight though, to be fair. Did we need to come in? Yes, we did. We have to check them. We can't not check everything. That would be futile and stupid. Whilst you're in. It's a big job, this. It's not a 5-minute job, so why would you just not check everything? There we go. Last one. Woohoo! There we go. Right, all the rubbers are out. I'm very interested in what these are, why they're not coming out. Strange, isn't it? Don't get it. Don't get it at all. Can't pull that off. There has to be a way of servicing this bearing. Okay, stick in the vise, see if we can turn, if we can hold that, obviously a special tool, if we can hold that, we might be able to turn it. I think I've got the tool just for the job. Bit of a long shot, I know, but it might work. So I've clamped, I'll show you, on the underside here, I've just clamped that in the vise, gingerly, as Eric would say, and now we can just use this tool here to clamp onto the center boss, and maybe, just maybe, it'll unscrew from there. No, it rotates. still rotating. Bugger. We have to get in there. We do. I'm going to scan through the manual to see if I can find any kind of diagram that shows me, you know, the components here. Maybe the parts diagram, actually. Look at that. I found it. Okay. So we've got the main clutch basket here. We've got that plate that we can see at the back, just there, look. And my concern is inside the hub, find a pointy stick, we've got threads here, you can hear those, and there appears to be a separate piece here because it's got gaps around, and that may even be threaded into this part. I don't know. So I'm looking on the diagram, and on the diagram we can see these outer splines here, look, on there, and that is detachable from the hub. So is that threaded and splined? Hence why there's these 4 drive pins. Can we lock that, use a tool on there to unscrew it? Is there something in the manual covering that? I think there must be. I need to do some more digging. And you can see here these screws, the heads of those bolts are at the back of here. They're the ones that come all the way through and go on to these caps by the looks of it. But there appears to be no mention on here. That's that outer plate. There's nothing indicating how the outer plate's held on. Those screws here that we had to drill out, these ones, well, they don't appear to even exist on the parts diagram. Very strange. This makes no sense at all. I've just gone back through the service manual again, and when it comes to the clutch side of things, there just doesn't seem to be any more information about how to disassemble the clutch itself. It's most bizarre. I don't get it. Yep. Don't tell me it just lifts out. Ew. Okay, well that's good news. That's excellent news. But, oh, I can see some more bolt heads. Right, hang on then. So how do we get... We're not there yet. How do we get these out? I mean, what a dumb design. I'm sorry, Triumph, but it really, really is. We've got all these captive bolts and stuff that we just can't get to. And I mean, how are you supposed to stop that from turning? Oh, hang on, it had a slotted, so this would be threaded. And you'd put that back on, obviously this on first. You'd put this back on and then you would turn the slot to wind this down, because there would have been threads in here. This effectively is the nut, as Mr. James Mayer would say. Sorry, James. Wow. Okay, well, are those threads still there? Not really. We've drilled that one out a bit. We've drilled that one out a bit. So either we need to change the thread size, and there's not a lot of meat, or we get a new one of these. I think we get a new one of those, because it does look to be quite battered. Doesn't look dead flat, to be fair. There's a lot of marks, almost looks like hammer marks around here that should not be there. However, that still doesn't solve the problem of getting this centerpiece out so we can get these bolts out. You can see down there, look, you can see the bolt just rotating around. I need that out. It has to tell me in the manual how to pull that apart. I don't want to damage it. And there's a bearing in there that needs to be replaced. Oh, Triumph. There's nothing else for it. Grab the Triumph Haynes manual. Okay. Fuel assist. Oh, clutch. Hang on then. Clutch and primary transmission. What does it tell us? General description. Don't need that. We know roughly how it works now. I want to see. Oh, yes, a diagram. Here we go. Okay. Very similar. Probably the Triumph diagram that they've stolen. It does look to me like there's threads on there. We've seen that before on the final drive gearbox sprocket. I want to know how to get this piece, or at least that piece there, off. Okay, what does it say? Examine the clutch plates. We've done all that. Wear inside the basket. We've not done that yet. We should go and check that. But we'll do that later. Oh, here we go. Broken teeth cause very rapid chain wear. We've seen some minor broken teeth on that primary drive, so that's going to get replaced. Holy crap, is that it? Come on, Haynes, I need more than that. How do we do the rubbers? Okay, let's go back. Examine the clutch plates and springs. Okay. Clutch operation. Are we on camera? We are. Examine the clutch shock absorber. So, here we go. The shock absorber assembly is contained within the clutch in a drum and can be examined by unscrewing the 3 countersunk screws. They're the ones we have to drill out. Remove the cover plate using a small screwdriver or lever. We did that. The shock absorber rubbers can be prized out. Yes, done all that. To avoid danger, rubbers disintegrating. Will be in position, needs to be disturbed unless it's cracked or broken. So leave it alone if they don't look bad. Reassemble. See, it doesn't tell me how to strip down the clutch basket. Engine sprockets, adjusting primary chain, removing, replacing chain case cover. It's not telling me what I need to know, and I need to know how to completely strip the clutch basket. Yes, for the diagram, thank you. But the question is that piece threaded into that piece? I don't know. I just don't know. We've got one more manual left. Let's have a look. Right, we will resort now to the Veloce manual. Triumph Bonneville T140. Okay, see if they're going to give us colour pictures. I like this. Okay, clutch. That's not clutch. Where is Mark Paxton? Come on, Mark. Help us out. Top bloke. Okay, forks, frame, the plan, brakes, engine and gearbox. Right, okay, here we go. Here's a bigger bench. Engine and gearbox. Top end strip. Rockers, cylinders. Engine removal. Gearbox strip, 75. Primary side, 68. 68, 68, 68. Right. Oh, yes, look at this. See, it's authentic now. It's got oil on it. Okay. We've done all that. We have done all of that. Every single little bit. Okay. Moving on. There's the goal. First plain plate was moved to taking the friction plates out and stuff. Okay, the clutch push rod was pulled out next for the centre nut. Okay, we're getting close. We're on camera, we are. There was a washer under the nuts, yes. Hidden in the recess were some threads, and this was how the clutch basket was going to come out. Yes, that's how I used the puller, wasn't it? There's the puller. Okay. Now, with the puller having done its work and the clutch centre out of its way, only the outer basket was left. He just pulled it off. He just pulled it off. Well, that didn't happen to us. Where's that puller? Is that going to work? I don't think it'll work because the shaft's already gone. So maybe it just pulls off. It must just pull off. There, look. With the covers removed, the 6 rubber segments are exposed. The clutch centre had obviously been taken apart once before to get all the rubbers within, as the screws were seriously mangled. Fortunately, an impact driver got them out. You were lucky, Mark. Didn't work for us. Okay, I'm gonna have a play around, see what we can get this centerpiece out. Okay, well, I don't know. It seems very strange. It really, really, really does. Why are we having so many problems and nobody else has so many problems? Let me go and get my little heel bar. Hang on. Here we go. Now, obviously, there was a big nut down here holding everything together, so maybe it will just come out. And maybe it won't, he says. What the hell? Doesn't want to, does it? Why are we having so many problems? That feels very solid. It's not going anywhere, Mr. Young. Hey, there is some wear down there, though. Another reason to replace the clutch basket, yes. We'll do a close-up of that later on, but that's not ideal. Anyway, how are we going to get that out of there? Is that inner piece here threaded to this piece here? So, are these holes here only for lubrication purposes, or do we make up a special tool to go in there to try and drive that whilst we hold this in position tight? Why is none of that covered in the manual? If that's what you have to do, they need to tell you in the manual that's what you need to do, and nobody's telling us that. This is most bizarre. It really, really is odd. See, is that a thread between that piece and that piece? If it is, were we on the right track? Because all we had was that on there like that, and we tried to grip it with the tool and turn the other one. It's got me baffled as this, and it shouldn't do. I can see an awful lot of editing coming on. I've just taken a picture from the one of the manuals, the red one, and just looking at these splines here, which are those splines on the outside there, and there doesn't appear to be any threads whatsoever, in which case we should be able to put a socket in there and hammer that through and get it all split. I have to do something, otherwise I will never be able to leave my workshop ever again. Right, magic hammer, socket that should sort of fit in there without damaging the thingies, the splines. We'll give it a go. We are supported by the vice. Why was that so easy? Oh, Andy, you overthink things sometimes, don't you? All they had to do, holy shit, all the bearings have come out. Look, many bearings. So that's where all the play was. Okay, so that should now lift off. In fact, we'll just leave the bolts in situ for now. So they're all going to get replaced for sure. Ah, who would have thought? Ah, right, let's take a closer look. Honestly, sometimes you've just got to take your time, but there's sometimes too much time to take. Right, the bearing, first of all. That's it. That's all you get. Not very big, is it? Two of these rollers are dropped over, so we'll stick them back where they need to go. Whoa! Okay. That's one. Come back. Two. Okay, rather worrying. And that won't be easy to put back together again. Okay, the clutch basket itself. So you now know how that comes apart, which is a good thing. The clutch basket itself. We need some more torch. We all get torchy. Hang on. That's better. Right, where's my pokey stick? That'll do. Screwdriver. Okay. So one of the things we've got to look for in the clutch basket, although we know we're going to replace it anyway, but you may not have problems with your teeth on the outside, they may all be good, is the wear. Get all the crap off there, there we are. Here, you can see it on this side. Obviously you're going to get more wear on the drive side than you are on the actual overrun side, but the greater these indents here, the less chance the clutch plates have of free floating, and then you get what's called clutch drag. You can see all of those or not, but it's not great, and it shouldn't be there. This should be completely and dead flat, allowing those plates to slide in and out. So when you basically pull the clutch lever in, and it disengages the clutch, there becomes a gap between each of the plates. But when you've got these little ridges here, they're reluctant to move, and you get that drag, and then it clunks into gear and it breaks gears and that kind of thing. So this is bad. It's not horrific, but it is bad, and it needs. That's another reason why we're going to replace the clutch basket. Wow. I wonder why it's got that weird casting mark on here. Is that just badly made or what? Don't know. Anyway. That's junk. Luckily it's in bits. Took us a while, didn't it? Took us way too long. It'll be a few minutes for you guys. It took me bloody ages to work it out, that thing came apart. Hey, oh, we've got a washer. That's that thrust washer. So that bearing, just to put it back together for you, let's just put that thrust washer back on, which I think goes, hang on, I could be wrong. I think it goes that way around, I would suggest, because the other side's got holes in it. So I think it goes that way. Obviously I will check when it comes to reassembly. So that just sits on there with those little ball bearings. Who would have thought? Now this piece, we're going to take all these bolts out for now, because those ones are, they've got a square shank or a square head, so they can't rotate when they're in the casing. So how the hell are you supposed to turn the tighten up? I don't get that at all, because they don't turn at all. So I need to do some more investigation work on that. Doesn't make any sense, to be perfectly honest. Right, let's take all these out. Just for ease of reference. Okay, give it a clean. This is just a mock-up reassembly, I think, really, just to get my head around it. I mean, what a thing to machine up. You'd think that this piece, which looks like it's cast, is a separate part to the plate at the back, but it appears all to be one piece. I mean, really, that must have taken some serious machining to get it like that. I just can't believe it's a separate piece. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, that's incidental. Okay, so this just drops over those splines. It's got to push in, isn't it? Like that. That's it. And we tried to lever it out with the heel, but it wasn't good enough. We had to use that socket that just sits. It's just slightly smaller diameter. It just sits inside there. Support the underside with the vise here, either side, and then we can give it a little tappy tap, and away it went. Job done. Which is now what I'll have to do again to get it apart. But I don't like that bearing. To me, there's too much movement anyway. So all that's going to get replaced. Because at the end of the day, actually, where's my hammer? There's going to be bearings everywhere now. You realise that, don't you? I've completely messed it up. Oh, look at all those. Okay. Because the reason why I say we're going to be replacing a lot more stuff is, if I get rid of that, yes, I know the bearings are, that's it. Okay, so on here, this bit is the inner race of that bearing, and we know that that bearing is worn, so this should be replaced. Holy crap, it's unreal, isn't it? I mean, how do they make this stuff? They've made their life so difficult making these things. We've got a taper here to attach this onto the input shaft of the gearbox, yet they've decided to put threads on this blind hole just here. I mean, that's not an easy engineering task. Then they've got the keyway to cut. It's a very busy component. They've got these outer splines to make. I mean, they really didn't make their lives very easy making these kind of components back in the day. There's quite a lot going on there. They're expensive to make. Okay, what am I going to do now? I'm going to gather up all these little ball bearings, because they're all going to get replaced anyway, because there's play. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Anybody still there? Honestly, this has been a really slow going job today, but sometimes you've just got to have immense amounts of patience and 3 different manuals, and none of them gave us the information we needed on knowing how to finally split that clutch basket to expose the bearing and the other bits, basically. You know, if you had to replace one of these bolts, one of the captive ones, or one of the bolts that's used for the... Hang on a minute, I got it mixed up. The captive ones are for the clutch springs. That's easy. The other ones, these ones with the normal head, they're the ones that we drilled out. So they're the ones, they must put a slot in the end of the bolt for you to tighten it up with the screwdriver. So yes, we've worked that out now. Everything makes complete sense, but still a stupid idea. Really, in my opinion anyway, a really dumb design. And, you know, lots of very complicated components that are expensive to make and just not what we normally expect to see in a clutch. It's a weird design, it really is. But anyway, most of it is going to get replaced. I think that part is reusable. I think this part's reusable. The one thing we haven't covered actually on the video is, you know, we checked those grooves on the inside here where the clutch plates key into it. Hang on a minute, bear with me, on those little tines there, look. Well, there's the same problem with the inner hub, or the boss, is you've got the same ones here. Now, do they have any grooves in them? And Yeah, you can see on the camera there, look, we don't need to do a close-up. They're actually in really good nick. There's really nothing. You can just see the faintest marks, but there really is nothing there at all. That, you know, that could definitely be reused again, I think. Yeah, it's the slightest amount of wear on it. It's not bad at all. And what you don't want to do is run a file down there and then you're going to open up the gap, then you got a lot more slop on the clutch. So, you know, don't be tempted to do that. But no, I think that part is reusable, as is that. The top plate, we need a new one of those because, well, we had to drill the threads out and, well, the bolts, and we've caught a few of the threads. So not enough threads left, needs to be replaced. Sorry, Alan. Rubbers, well, the rubbers are actually in pretty good nick. In fact, I think they're in very good nick, so we don't need to replace those. We'll just stick them over here out of the way for now. What else? What else have we got? Yes, that bit's okay, so we'll put it on the okay pile. We need to grab the chain again and go and see how worn the teeth are on the crank primary sprocket. Now that one's a lot smaller, which means the chain wears it a lot quicker. There's less teeth to share the load and they will wear quicker, so we might see some wear on that and it might need to be replaced. Who knows? Let's go and take a look. Okay, crew, we've got the primary chain put back, wrapped around the sprocket off the crankshaft, and all I'm going to do now is just try and lift that chain again away from the teeth, away from the center of the sprocket, to see how much lift there is. And there really isn't any. Well, there is a little tiny bit, but not a lot. I think that's okay. So we need now to remove that chain and do a quick check of all the teeth and make sure there's no damage. Right, zip tie out of the way, chain is off. Stick that over there. Right, let's get the camera sorted out for you. Right, as said Fred, here we go. We'll just put a little mark on there so we know when we've gone all the way around. So we're going to be checking all three teeth along each line. So we've got that one, and that one. You've actually got a better view than I have, so shout up if you see something. Now, I know we're going backwards on the engine, but it doesn't matter. It'll be all good. You've got the best view in the house there. Well, they look pretty good so far. It only takes one though, doesn't it? One damaged tooth and it's game over. More new parts needed. Okay, we're not too far off. Now, if you do see any, please stick your comments. Stick it in the comments, because I'll see it, and then I can come back and check it again. Sometimes people, you know, we do miss stuff. Okay, that's it. We're all the way around. That looks pretty good to me. Now, just while we're here, I want to check the condition of the slipper that runs against. This is always in contact with the chain itself, and there is some signs of wear on that. It's not too bad though. I'll let Alan decide if he wants to replace that or not. I think there's still plenty of depth left, and it wasn't on full adjustment, although it was quite highly adjusted to take up the slack, which was a bit odd considering the fact we've not really found any major wear on the chain itself. Doesn't really stack up, does it? But no, I think that should be okay. It's been a long day, it really has. So we've pretty much done everything on the primary drive and clutch and stuff except the friction and steel plates. Now, I've done videos in the past on inspecting friction plates and clutch plates, the steel plates. So we're not going to get too detailed on this one, on this particular video. If you're really keen on that, then why not check out one of those videos. And there's lots of others on YouTube as well. You may remember when we pulled the clutch apart, we had to, it's not like a normal motorcycle, it's got a gear, the gear shaft from the gear lever has a little 180-degree weird thing in it to clear the side of the basket. It's odd design, it really is. It's almost like a compromise, almost like they forgot to they needed a gear lever, you know. Maybe the gear lever, because it was the gear lever, used to be on the right hand side on the very early ones, and the brake lever was on the left, and that's the only way they could modify the design to standardize the levers. Could be, Andy, you could be onto something. Anyway, we had to separate each clutch plate in order to extract it from the basket, and there were some of them were very, very stuck together. That's a clue. Remember that bit, because when we do the summary to work out what I think was the reason why the gearbox actually failed, that's something which we need to include. But very quickly, let's take a quick look at the condition of these plates. I looked, maybe somewhere in the manual I can find some kind of thickness for the friction plates and the steel plates. You do normally put them on a level surface and make sure that they're not warped, because it's absolutely critical that the plates, the steels and the frictions, are not warped in any way. Otherwise that causes additional drag in the clutch and can cause the problem that we've experienced this time round. Am I going to do that? I don't actually have a proper engineer's flat surface. You know, you can get those little surfaces for measuring stuff with DTIs and things. I don't have one of those. All I've got is a lathe bed, and that's not good enough. So you would lay this on the engineer's plate, and then you use a feeler gauge to measure any kind of gap which would indicate warpage. I really haven't got anything that I can do that with here, unfortunately. We can have a little look and just put the torch under and see if we can see light. That's using an indication. But I do want to do a quick check visually. We can do a measurement on the friction plates. They're probably going to pass, although they are quite burnt. But we'll have a little look close up so you can see what's going on. And if I can get it rigged up where we can do some kind of warpage test, we will. Here we go. Friction plates and steel plates out of the clutch, and first impressions are they are really bad. Looking at the steel plates, first of all, there's a lot of random scratches going on the surface of these plates. There is no way that this has happened in normal service. Somebody has got some sandpaper and scratched the hell out of these all over the place. Maybe in an attempt to try and solve some kind of previous problem. So they would need to be replaced anyway. I'm not happy with that at all. The friction plates. The manual says that if the friction material wears below 0.03 of an inch, then it's a fail. It's too thin. To convert that to metric, because I'm a metric kind of a person, that's 0.76 millimeters. So you can use your verniers and you can measure the height of each of these little ramps. You don't need to do all of them. We'll do 1 or 2 or 3 on each plate just to see where we're at. But I just want to clean off some of the crap first. These plates are very black. You can't really see the natural colour of the friction material anymore, because they've been overheated, I would say, basically. You can just start to see it now, look, now that I've cleaned it off a little bit. If I get the old verniers, we'll just zero those, and we'll measure, sorry torch, you're in the way, we'll just measure the height of one of these little pads. We'll bring it down, boom. And that one is 0.9, so that will be a pass. It's got enough meat on it. I did check a few, yeah, we're still zeroed. I did check a few earlier on, and they were a fail. And the rule of thumb is, if you're going to change the clutch, if any one of these plates fails, you'd replace all of them. 0.79, so very, very close to being at absolute minimum thickness. We'll do one more. We'll go around here, look. .75. So pretty clear this clutch is worn out for a number of reasons. The friction plate material is too thin. The steel plates have had some unknown history to them, causing those scratches. Don't know what's going on there. Something else you need to look at as well is where these little extrusions are here that lock in. These lock into the clutch drum, and on the steel plates these lock into the clutch basket. Now the basket didn't show really any, sorry, the inner hub didn't show any kind of real wear where these go in, so you know that's fine. But you also got to check the steel plates as well to see if there's any appreciable wear on these. If there is, that again would be a fail. So we're going to replace them anyway. On the friction plates, again, just check that there's no appreciable wear on these flanks where they make contact with the clutch basket. There is wear on the basket, although it's only marginal. There is a bit of wear. These don't look too bad, but you might have a good basket and worn plates, in which case you need new plates. So I don't think it's worth spending much time on these this time round. It's just going to get a new clutch. It's as simple as that. Now, if we go back to the original customer complaint, Alan was telling us that when he first started the bike up, he had to warm up while he's getting his helmet and gloves and stuff on, and he jumped on the bike, pulled the clutch in, engine's running, put it into first gear. The engine stopped dead. Probably had his foot on the rear brake or on the front brake, but the engine just died instantly, a mechanical stop. And it's quite clear to me that there was immense amounts of clutch drag. Now you might say, well, hang on a minute, Andy, the clutch plates are worn out. You know, why would there be clutch drag? Well, we've seen a small amount of indents on the basket that can, you know, where these friction plates locate on the inner diameter of the basket itself. That can cause a bit of clutch drag, but I don't think it's the main cause. These plates are showing signs of being overheated. Somebody's been messing around with these, whether they got blued, overheated, and they've just tried to sand them back to get rid of the colour. I don't know. I mean, I've no idea, you know, on the competence and the knowledge of the person that worked on this bike before. What we've seen so far, it's not looking good. If these plates are badly warped, that would most definitely cause a significant amount of clutch drag. So I'm going to have to come up with a plan on how to measure these. It's going to be a bit difficult with the old friction plates. The steel plates maybe a bit easier. And I was also having to think about what I could use. Well, we now have Sheldon the Mill, a milling machine that has a nice flat bed. It does have grooves down the bed, but I think it's going to be good enough to give us an idea. It's certainly better than using the bench, which is definitely not the flat. To use the bed of the mill, chuck a plate on there, get the torch and see if we can see an air gap between some part of the plate and the bed. If we can, then maybe we can get a feeler gauge in there and just get some idea of how much distortion these plates have got. Give me a minute to get set up. Well, you're looking across the bed of the milling machine. So let's see how we get on with this one. So this is what I've cleaned all the plates really well. So we'll just stick it on there and we'll see. Okay, we have definitely got lift. It's definitely not flat. So we'll get a feeler gauge and we'll see how, if that's a 0.4 of a mil. No, that's too thick. Bum, 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 bum. What should we try? 0.25. A little bit thinner. Yes. That goes under there quite happily. And maybe if I get torchy, you might be able to see the gap. I don't know. You can. Look at that. There's a gap. That's not good, is it? Okay, I'm going to move the camera now. Get the idea so you can see what's going on. We'll bring you up and then we can measure the rest together. We're going to label up these, and that was 0.25 millimeters of distortion. So plate 1. Okay. Now if you're getting bored, you can always whiz off and do something else for a bit and come back when I've got all the measurements for these. Of the friction plates. Beautiful. Now, something else I wanted to check, because they just didn't quite feel right, these plates. I wanted to check to see if the surface here has like gone in on the inner diameter and out on the outer diameter. So a bit like a diaphragm spring, See if there's any kind of sort of conical element to the whole plate, because you could still, if that was the case, you could still sit it down on a flat surface and you wouldn't see any light around the outer edge, but in actual fact some of the inner edge may be off the surface. So I just used a ruler. It's quite a thick ruler, it's pretty good, but it's not an official straight edge. I don't have one of those here, and I just wanted to just go down. And I've really got a 0.05 millimeter. Jeez, Mr. Young, keep hold of your tools. Try again. And I was doing a bit of this off camera, and I was actually got it so it would go down. Maybe not. Maybe it was a figment of my imagination. We'll try this side. Yeah, there's definitely someone that you can't see it on camera. I know you can't. So, if that's the case, it should be the same on this side here. Let me just turn it round for you. Hang on. Bring it round. Now you might say, Andy, why are you wasting your time? But we're trying to find all the faults, not just one fault. Okay, so I can see it from up here. There's quite a gap. There you are. Look. If I bring it across, it starts to jam. So this plate is definitely not flat. That's quite loose actually. But we'll get the next one in. Let's try for a 0.1. Let's be brave. 0.1, there he is. Okay, here we go. Only just. So I'm going to check all the other plates to see how many of them are deformed a bit like a diaphragm spring, where the inner ID is further in or further out to the outer. It's not flat. What a long day it's been. Well, we know we're going to replace the clutch, right? The friction plates and the steels, but it's really important to me that I fully understand all the problems that this bike had prior to the failure of the gearbox where the teeth got broken off. Now, while I was handling these plates and when I was putting them on the mill for the flat surface, they just felt to be a little bit concave. You know, when you pick them up, they just didn't feel to be flat. They felt like they were slightly scalloped like that. And they are. Every single one has got some kind of deflection on there where, if you're looking at it here, and I can feel it now, where the inner edge is further that way than the outer edge. And therefore, it's acting a little bit like a diaphragm spring. Now, for one plate to be like it, you might get away with it. But that one was 0.05, another one at 0.05, another one at 0.05, that one was 0.1 of a millimeter, that was 0.05, and another one at 0.1. And then you've got all the deflection of the plates as well, the warpage element. You tie all that in, and we had some minor warpage on some of the friction plates as well. The whole thing multiplies out, and the clearance, when you pull the clutch lever in, the cover, the pressure plate, only actually moves a very small distance. And if that's not enough, i.e. if all the warpage and discrepancies all add up to be more, then there is still some pressure being applied to the clutch pack. And some drive will result into the gearbox, and that's what's called drag. So it's all looking pretty bad. We've got some slight indents, although minor, on the basket outer, where the friction plates key in. We've got warpage on all of the steel plates and a couple of the friction plates. And we've also got this issue of this concave convex problem on all of the steel plates. And somebody's obviously been in not too long ago and scratched the hell out of these, thinking that that might fix the problem. They clearly haven't done any real measurements. So, lots of new parts required. I can't think of anything else that I need to check on the primary drive side. If you could think of anything else, if you're a Triumph expert, and I certainly am not, this is the first Triumph I have ever worked on other than just doing a service, then please stick it in the comments and let me know, because this is an ongoing saga, and I can come back into the workshop at the following weekend and I can do some more checks. And if we find the other components that are faulty, then of course they'll go on the new parts list required, or new parts required list, whichever. Anyway, crew, it has been a long afternoon. Apologies if this ends up being one of those ridiculous long videos again, but with everything that I've done now, all the inspections, the strip downs and so on, at the end of episode 5, I think this is what this one is, I can now create a full parts list that Alan needs, so we can get the parts underway, the bike can get packed up, you know, covered up, whatever, put to one side for a couple of months, and then all the parts will turn up, and then we can start putting it back together. Okay, crew, if you enjoyed the video, why not click on the subscribe button, ring the bell, that way you won't miss out on any future videos, and you'll find me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to communicate through any of those portals. You can also flick me an email, andymechanic@live.co.uk.
So Andy, how can viewers support the channel?
And it's the same email address if you want to send a few bucks across to support the channel. You can do that through PayPal, andymechanic@live.co.uk, just class it as a payment. They've stopped doing donations now, unless you're a registered charity. Well, I'm not a registered charity, so I can't use that function anymore. So just send it across as a payment. I don't know, whatever you want, it all helps. Those that have, thank you very much. Another way that you can support the channel is through Patreon. Become a patron to the channel, and again, you can set up a monthly payment. There's a number of different tiers. Your call. And lastly, if it's not a financial support, you can send me something in the mail. I have a PO box up in Auckland, which is PO Box 6265, and that's Victoria Street West in Auckland, and the postcode is 1142, and that's New Zealand. Obviously, that's where I live, in New Zealand. Or what you can do is you can share one of the videos. Might not be this one, might be a different video that I've done. There's about 600 and some, maybe 700. In fact, I had a look on our YouTube channel the other day. It's not often I go on there, other than to upload videos and things. And YouTube told me I had over 800 videos. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot more than I thought I had. But anyway, you might want to share one of those on a social media platform, because that really helps to get the views and so on up. And plus, it might be a video that's helpful to somebody else. Okay, crew, I've got a bit of tidying up to do. Bring all the bikes in and call it a day. I'll see you next time. Cheers. Over and out.
And we get the flip.
Oh!